NBC7 News at 6 begins with breaking news.
Specifically out of North Park, where we're sad to report a person has died after a motorcycle and a tow truck collided.
It happened about 4 this afternoon at the 805 and University Avenue in North Park. That is where NBC7's Todd Strain is. He joins us now with the latest. Todd?
That is right, you guys. We are on the Landis Street Bridge over the 805, just north of the 94. As you take a look below me here, you can see traffic on southbound 805 is its usual slow and go at this time of night, and all 6 lanes are now open. But that was not the case just moments ago. Earlier, a SIG alert was issued due to a fatal accident involving a motorcycle and a tow truck. The driver of the motorcycle was declared deceased on the scene. According to CHP, there were no other injuries. Now, the accident occurred around 4 o'clock, and until about 5:30, lanes 1 through 4 were closed, causing a huge traffic backup and a major delay for commuters in and around this major San Diego traffic route. But just about a half an hour ago, 805 southbound was cleared, and as you can see, traffic somewhat back to normal on a normal weeknight commute, slow and go. But once again, a horrific fatal traffic accident involving a motorcycle and a tow truck really slowed commuters in and around this area. I'm Todd Strain for NBC7.
We'll check back, Todd. Thanks very much. More breaking news tonight from Balboa Park, where a couple walking along one of the paths came across a woman being attacked this afternoon. So the attacker then ran off. Now police are looking for the man. Investigators tell NBC7 that the victim was walking along a trail when the man apparently grabbed her and tried to rape her. That is when the couple happened upon them. The suspect took off on foot. He's described as being in his mid to late 20s, last seen wearing low-hanging khaki pants with visible green boxers and no shirt. He was last seen heading south towards the 163 and the Cabrillo Bridge.
Late this afternoon, CHP investigators said they arrested the SUV driver involved in an accident that killed 3 of his friends. 25-year-old William Cady was booked on charges of gross vehicular manslaughter and DUI causing injury after his release from the hospital. He was hurt when the Cadillac Escalade he's accused of driving veered off the 805, slammed into a cement pole, and rolled into traffic on the 52. The crash caused a 4-car pileup, and 3 of the 5 men riding with Cady were killed. Limiting campaign contributions made to school board members for the 5th time in 2 years. That issue exactly is coming before the board of the Sweetwater Union High School District, a district right in the middle of alleged corruption. NBC7's Roy Devine is in Chula Vista, where they're talking about exactly this tonight.
Well, that's right, Catherine. Community members are here waiting for that 6 o'clock meeting to begin, where that issue will be discussed, and they are hoping that the 5th time will be a charm. A change they say they hope will keep school board members out of some hot water. You may remember back in 2012, the homes of some board members were raided in allegations that they accepted gifts from contractors in return for their votes on construction projects for the district. Tonight's proposal calls for a $750 limit on campaign contributions to school board members. The last time it did not go anywhere due to potential legal loopholes. So again, this is the 5th time this issue has come up. Also not getting very far tonight, a decision about how to fill the seat left vacant after school board member Arlie Ricasa, who resigned after pleading guilty in the alleged corruption scandal. You can see that there's an empty slate there. That's where Arlie Ricasa used to sit. The board was supposed to make a decision on how to replace her, but they did not make any decision about that earlier tonight. They're going to come back and call another special meeting. Reporting, I'm Rory Devine, NBC7.
Rory, thanks for that. Okay, one other education note. While all of you know who watch the news, there's generally been pretty favorable economic news lately regarding schools in San Diego, not in Alpine, where teachers are now considering a strike to protest pay and benefit cuts. A 7.85% salary cut and an $8,000 cap on health benefit contributions were approved by the Alpine Unified School District Board. The Alpine Teachers Association says for half of its teachers, the changes will probably amount to about a 30% cut in monthly compensation. The ATA's 91 members will vote tomorrow whether or not to strike. They're meeting at 4 p.m. at the Boulder Oaks Elementary School. Well, let's take a moment and just talk about weather, because there's a lot to talk about. High, dry conditions continue in San Diego. It's beautiful out, but it's certainly dangerous. Meteorologist Greg Bledsoe is in the East County looking how things are there.
Let's get started with Dagmar. She's in the Weather Center for San Diego's most accurate forecast.
Yeah, we're continuing to see, as you mentioned, some very dangerous conditions throughout Southern California. So the fire weather warning, or the red flag warning, is in effect until tomorrow, 6 p.m. You're going to see that through the majority of San Diego County, primarily in the mountains and to the western edges of the mountains. Again, very indicative of Santa Ana setup. We'll also see that in eastern Riverside County, Orange County, up in through Los Angeles, Ventura. So continuing to see high winds. Obviously, that's a factor that goes into creating that fire weather warning. The winds today, Sill Hill picked up a wind gust of 74 miles per hour. Several other areas and weather stations in the San Diego County mountains easily in the mid-50s. So the high wind warning, that expires tomorrow, noon. But what we're going to continue to see is after that will cross over into a wind advisory. So the winds will slowly taper through the day tomorrow. But again, very dangerous conditions persisting throughout San Diego County and Southern California in general. The humidity, I checked those earlier, over the last 24 hours, the minimum relative humidity levels over the mountains, over basically that entire area that is under that high wind warning, were easily in the single digits, 3, 4, and 5%. So very bad news there on all fronts. I'll be back in a few moments. We'll take a look at when we can finally expect to see and feel some relief from all of this.
All right. In the meantime, though, Dagmar, as you know, one of the biggest reasons why that windy weather is such a concern is because of the county's power lines. NBC7's meteorologist Greg Bledsoe is in the East County this evening to talk about that situation. Greg?
Yeah, and Catherine, that's exactly right. Weather like we're seeing this week is a very real reminder of what can happen when these winds take out power lines. And that's the reason that SDG&E is so busy this week. Take, for example, their mission control, which right now is staffed 24 hours a day with meteorologists who are watching weather conditions, not only the winds, but relative humidity, the fuel moisture as well. Now, a spokesperson from the company told us this is the first time really that they've had to open their emergency operations center during the wintertime in January. So obviously it's really busy for them right now. Now, we're also reminded this time of year what can happen when power lines are taken out by the wind. Again, you'll remember back in 2007, that's what took out the power lines that started the Witch Creek fire. So it's always a very real situation where SDG&E will have to turn off people's power in situations like this just to prevent something like that from happening. They did it one time today. They shut down one power line earlier today, and they did it back in October when we had a Santa Ana then. And according to the spokesperson from SDG&E, they claim that customers seem to be okay with that.
Customers who live up in those high windy areas told us the last time in October they were really happy that we shut the power off, because they said, you know what, we can live for a couple of hours or even half a night or something without power. We don't want to have to rebuild our homes again.
And again, one power transmission line was shut down earlier today. They said that only affected one customer. There have been no other problems reported. And then, as we've been talking about all week, CAL FIRE is also on high alert. All of their stations around the county right now, and around the entire region for that matter, are staffed 24 hours a day as well. Reporting live near Alpine, I'm Greg Bledsoe, NBC7.
Okay, let's stay on the theme for just a moment and talk about San Diego firefighters and the citizens they protect. Well, there's a big upgrade in the works in on-the-job working and living conditions, which are now in sight. The City Council today approved major funding to rebuild 3 degrading fire stations. Let's get details right now from NBC7's Gene Covison. Hi, Gene.
And Mark, the bottom line here is $25 million out of a $120 million mega bond to fix San Diego's crumbling infrastructure. San Diego has too few fire stations, and all too many of them are substandard. Well, now that's going to get attention.
Our officers, our firefighters, our paramedics, they all need good working facilities. And for too long, just like every other type of infrastructure that we own, we've neglected those kind of public safety facilities. Not only does the City of San Diego not have a multi-year infrastructure investment plan, we can't find evidence we've ever had one. And that helps explain the situation we're in today.
A situation like Hillcrest's Station 25 on University Avenue, more than 60 years old and fading fast. It is cramped, has infestations of bed bugs, mildew, and plumbing problems, and not worth renovating. Let's show you an architect's rendering a replacement that will be covered by $8 million in that mega bond money. And then over on Shamoon Avenue in City Heights, an $11 million rebuild is planned for Fire Station 17. Its crews answer the highest call volume among all 47 fire stations in the city. Officials say the modernized facilities are expected to cut maintenance costs and response times.
We have quite a few stations that are really run down. They've been a lot of years in service, and they need a lot of work. And this bond is going to go a long way to improving those stations.
And that mega bond money also will go to replacing Point Loma Fire Station 22 and to temporary new stations for Home Avenue and Skyline Hills. Funding for a station in Little Italy, we're told, is almost completed, but it is lacking for another downtown site across Broadway from police headquarters. Mark, Catherine.
Thanks, Gene.
Okay, whether you are a tourist or whether you're a local, certainly when you go to the beach, you expect a lifeguard to be there to save your life if you happen to be in trouble.
Here's the thing. In La Jolla, something at the beach may stop lifeguards from being able to see you in time. This just in, USS Ronald Reagan is getting a new assignment. The U.S. Navy just announced today the aircraft carrier will replace USS George Washington in Japan and will become part of the 7th Fleet Forward Deployed Naval Forces. The Reagan will leave San Diego to go to Japan, and it will be replaced here by USS Theodore Roosevelt. The Navy says it's working on rebalancing strategy to increase its presence in the Pacific Fleet. Timelines for departure will be announced a little bit closer to the actual moves.
A suspicious death investigation continues tonight in La Jolla as we wait to learn the name of a woman found stabbed near Birch Aquarium yesterday. It's a strange story. Groundskeeper found the woman who was in her mid-30s in a ravine. She had multiple stab wounds and she died after being taken to Scripps Hospital. Investigators at this point tell us they have not ruled out suicide as a possible cause of death. Police are also looking for the person responsible for a possible hostage hoax in Kearny Mesa today. 1:40 this afternoon, 911 dispatchers get a report of an armed man with hostages inside of this office building in the 9400 block of Balboa Avenue. They go there in force, and when police surround the building, they search it. They found absolutely no sign of any hostage situation whatsoever. Investigators now calling the incident a hoax, and they're not happy about it.
A brand new lifeguard tower at La Jolla Shores is not exactly doing everything it's supposed to. The windows in the observation tower are, believe it or not, difficult to see through. And now, as you can imagine, safety is a concern at the beach. NBC's Megan Tevrizian has the story.
Good evening, Catherine and Mark. This lifeguard tower behind me is creating headaches for the city and the lifeguards inside. This new $3.8 million lifeguard tower at La Jolla Shores looks nice on this winter day, but it has actually made the beach less safe since it was built last summer. There's a problem with the observation tower, and no one seemed to notice until after construction.
During the latter part of the day, when there's glare that comes in, it sort of reflects, and the lifeguard is unable to see clearly through the glass itself.
Essentially, the problem is this. Lifeguards will see something on their left, but with the way the glass is set up, it creates an optical illusion. It's something like a mirroring effect. So whatever they're seeing on their left, it's actually happening on their right.
We tried a couple of remedies. We tried different tinting options, and when we couldn't, through the contractor, find a solution, we're now hiring an expert.
Mark Nasser is Deputy of Architecture and Engineering with the Public Works Department. He says the fix will cost $75,000 and the city will recover the cost from the manufacturer or whoever is responsible for the problem.
There were different glasses tried at this station, tempered, non-tempered, different types of tinting tried. So it may not be just the glass.
In the meantime, lifeguards are using another tower adjacent to this one and staff it with an additional lifeguard for 3 hours a day when the glare makes it especially hard to see.
During that period, there's simply redundant coverage, which makes us comfortable in knowing that we're covering the area adequately and that we're safeguarding the public.
The city is hoping to fix the problem by this summer. Today was a pretty day here in San Diego. About 100 people were in the water at any given time, but in the summer they could see as many as 4,000 people in this water, so it's important they get it fixed before then. Megan Tavrizzian reporting from La Jolla, NBC7.
Okay, thanks, Megan. Chula Vista police have arrested a man in connection with as many as 4 armed robberies over the past 4 months. Authorities say 23-year-old Victor Bernal started his crime spree in October when he robbed a 7-Eleven, and then a month later they say he robbed El Ranchero Taco Shop on 3rd Avenue. Police say Bernal robbed the taco shop twice more, most recently on January 12th. In all 4 robberies, they say he wore this, a blue camouflage outfit, fatigues basically, and a ski mask. A school employee spotted a bobcat wandering near Westview High School today, saying it was near the swimming pool about 10 this morning. Police say school staff chased the bobcat away before it could come anywhere near students. Officers and state wildlife crews searched the campus, the surrounding areas as a precaution, but nobody reported being threatened by the animal. Westview now has had 2 bobcat sightings in about 2 months. The last one was back in November.
A man with a loaded gun has been arrested after Border Patrol agents stopped him at the Pine Valley checkpoint. According to authorities, on Friday evening around 6 o'clock, the 27-year-old man claiming to be moving to San Diego passed through the Interstate 8 checkpoint. So at that point, he was taken to a secondary inspection where officers found this and a small amount of marijuana, that loaded handgun. They searched him further. They also discovered 2 concealed knives. He was arrested for the possession of a controlled substance.
In Vista this morning, a 19-year-old is dead after a fiery crash. Sheriff's deputies say the driver was traveling fast on Sycamore Avenue. It was about 1:30 this morning when he lost control, hit an electric box, and rolled. The car burst into flames with the driver inside. The owner of Monster Tools Company says the victim was his employee, a guy named Spencer Summers, who was returning from a break during his overnight shift. Hundreds of SDG&E customers, by the way, lost power when that electric box was damaged.
The police are looking for 2 masked men who broke into the home of a man in Otay Mesa, pulled the trigger of a rifle right at the homeowner early this morning. Virgilio Vallejo says the men broke down his front door on Grading Drive around 4:30, dragged him and his 70-year-old mother into the living room. He says one man pointed a gun at him, pulled the trigger, but no shot was fired. Vallejo says he isn't sure whether the gun misfired or if there were simply no bullets. Police say if not for his mother, things could have ended quite differently.
The female started screaming enough where a neighbor came over and scared them off.
Vallejo says the 2 men fled and had trouble starting their car before speeding off. He says he got a good look at one of them, describing him as bearded with the zigzag pattern in his haircut. And this just into our newsroom. San Diego-based Vector Planning and Services has admitted to criminally defrauding the Defense Department. A U.S. attorney says Vector's former CEO apparently submitted 5 years' worth of false costs claims to the government, essentially billing the department twice for each expense. The Defense Department lost more than $3.6 million, we are told, in the scheme. Vector has agreed now to pay $6.5 million in restitution and to settle its civil as well as criminal cases. The FDA has a new recommendation for health care professionals. It wants them to stop prescribing and dispensing drug combinations with more than 325 milligrams of acetaminophen. That is the drug used in Tylenol. It's widely used as over-the-counter medication for pains and fevers, often combined with other ingredients to treat a cough or cold. The FDA says there's no available data to show that taking more than that amount, 325 grams, provides a benefit that outweighs the risk for liver injury.
We still have a lot of news to get to. A student shoots at classmates while they're waiting to go to the gym. The latest on the condition of the 2 teens who were shot today. Also in Colorado, police say things are actually going pretty well with that new recreational marijuana law. So why are people still being arrested for smoking it? There's a bit of a catch. We'll explain what that's all about. Also, the Los Angeles County Police raided the home of Justin Bieber, what they were looking for and the trouble he could face.
And I'll be back in a few moments because, yeah, we're still under a red flag warning. I'll be back in a few moments. I'll let you know when we can finally sense some relief from these Santa Ana conditions. So the details on your forecast are coming up. Stay with us.
Okay, so today was a pretty hot day in San Diego, but earlier in our studio we had some guests who could really prefer it just a little bit cooler.
Dagmar, I'm jealous. I saw a picture on Instagram. It was so cute.
Yeah, baby penguins. That's an Adele penguin and a Gentoo. The Adele, I think, is the little one with the white tuxedo, and then the Gentoo. These are obviously from the Antarctic, so they're used to much cooler temperatures. One of them is the Gentoo is actually, I think, the 3rd largest in the penguin family behind the emperor and the king penguin. They can grow up to be like 20-pound penguins. And oh, they're so cute and they were so cuddly. Weren't they adorable?
They were paying attention to that little lecture that was going on
They
in
sure
the
were.
TV
Yes, they
screen.
were. There's actually a shot of me in there hugging them, but well, we
Was
didn't
that?
show that. I was snuggling with
Do
the
they let
penguins.
you snuggle with
Oh
them?
yeah, they totally
Really?
do. They really do like that. They've been hand reared by humans.
Well, it is
so.
about you, not the penguins. So it doesn't- right.
Oh,
How did we
they're
miss
so
that
cute.
photo?
Oh, that was cute. Yeah, they had to pry that away from me. Okay, we're going to talk about, yes, like you said, very, very hot out here today. Very warm temperatures continuing with the Santa Ana conditions. And definitely we're going to feel more of that. Look at, I pull you out this far on the satellite radar image to show you the majority of the western edge of the U.S. and all the way down in through the Baja Peninsula, because again, this is really a good image of what's happening right now. See how that cloud cover skirting off to the north and then dipping down and moving through the central plains. This whole area is that high pressure, large area of high pressure, very, very dry. So here's what's happening. That is called a blocking high, and it's so powerful. It's keeping any moisture well to the north, and then pulling all that dry air in from the east and the deserts and moving that in through San Diego County. That's why we're getting a lot of easterly winds, Santa Ana style setup. The fire weather index, even coming up on 6:30 now, is still really bad. So we'll continue to see dangerous fire weather, critical conditions all up and down from that transverse range up above Los Angeles and in through Ventura, all the way down through San Diego County and well down into the northern ranges of the Baja Peninsula. So yeah, not much recovery from the fire weather conditions in the overnight hours because we're still windy. Yes, we have gotten better with the temperatures. Those have cooled, but still very, very dry. So not just dry for today, but of course coming up on the third dry year in a row now. This last fall and summer have been immensely dry. So we are still under a severe and an extreme drought condition in Southern California and San Diego. 15% relative humidity in Campo, in the 20s, and barely now creeping into that 30 and 40 mark in Oceanside, 10 in Palm Springs, and 10 in Riverside. Winds currently still an issue, still offshore, obviously coming out of the east, the deserts. 16 in Campo, 15 in Julian, but 18 in the Boulevard area. They're going to slowly calm down through the overnight hours. So this will be a very gradual process to release these Santa Ana conditions. I'll be back in a few moments. We're going to take a look at the rest of the forecast heading all the way through the work week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. First grader in Temecula brings an item for show and tell in her class about holiday tradition.
But a teacher tells her she can't show it because it violates school policy. We'll tell you more about it. Also, police are trying to crack a case surrounding Justin Bieber, what he's accused of doing, and why he actually may be in some pretty big trouble.
That and a lot more right after the break. Keep eggs away from them. Stay with us as NBC 7 News at 6 continues.
You're watching NBC 7 News at 6.
Hey, Washington can work. Congress is now set to pass a budget compromise that will keep the government funded all the way through October. After sequestration and a government shutdown, both Democrats and Republicans have agreed to a $1 trillion spending bill. It restores funds to the Pentagon for warships and planes. It also raises pay of service members. The bill also allows more money for highways, NIH research, and Saturday mail delivery. However, high-speed rail funding gets cut, and so does the unemployment benefit extension.
Continues to exclude the over 1 million Americans who have lost their jobs through no fault of their own.
Funding for the Affordable Care Act will not change under the bill. Obamacare and Head Start, which lost funding in the sequestration, will get it back. The House is expected to pass the deal tomorrow, and the Senate will probably vote on it probably about Saturday.
Authorities now say the student who opened fire on classmates in New Mexico this morning carried the shotgun he used in a banned instrument case. Authorities say the student opened fire about 8 this morning, just as classes were beginning for the day at Berendo Middle School in Roswell. 2 students were shot, a 12-year-old boy said to be the shooter's intended target, also a 13-year-old girl. They're both in the hospital fighting for their lives tonight. Authorities say a teacher talked the student with a gun into dropping it, and then he was arrested within minutes.
Shooter was quickly stopped by one staff member who walked right up to him.
School was canceled for the day and students were taken to a mall to meet up with their parents. It remains unclear what led up to the shooting. Authorities have not yet released the identity of the gunman.
Well, the East Coast investigators are looking into a charity that raised money for those affected by the Sandy Hook school shooting, or so it's said. The Connecticut Attorney General at this point is investigating the 26 for 26 Foundation along with its co-founder Robbie Bruce. Another co-founder apparently says that Bruce could not account for more than $70,000 in foundation money. Complaints were filed against him with the FBI and the Tennessee Attorney General's office. Bruce has not responded for calls for comment.
A retired Tampa police officer was the defendant in a Florida courtroom today, charged with killing a man after an argument over texting in a movie theater. We get more from NBC's Chris Clackham.
Mr. Reeve, your counsel is here.
71-year-old retired Tampa Police Captain Curtis Reeves was arraigned Tuesday on charges that include second-degree murder.
He is facing life in prison.
Appearing by video hookup from jail, Reeves appeared a day after a deadly shooting at a movie theater. With wife Nicole, 43-year-old Chad Olson was texting their 3-year-old daughter while waiting for the movie to begin Monday afternoon. Reeves and his wife were sitting behind them.
The victim was sitting there texting. It was making noise. Curtis Reeves asked him a few times to please turn off his phone. Chad decided not to.
According to others in the movie theater, the dispute escalated.
Their voices start going up. There seems to be almost a confrontation. Somebody throws popcorn. I'm not sure who threw the popcorn. And then bang, he was shot.
Chad Olson was shot in the chest. Nicole was shot in the hand as she attempted to protect her husband. The police report says Reeves admitted to firing his weapon at the victim because he was in fear of being attacked.
And the allegation there is that the victim threw a bag of popcorn.
At the arraignment, the courtroom was packed with family and friends of Reeves, wanting him released on bail. But the judge decided otherwise.
But I am ruling that there is no bond.
No bond for the former Tampa police captain who retired in 1993 and finds himself on the other side of the law now. Chris Clackham, NBC News.
In other news, a tour bus rear-ends a big rig in Central California, sending 15 people to the hospital. This accident happened just before midnight on Route 99 in Tulare. That is about 40 miles south of Fresno. The bus driver says the big rig slowed down suddenly and that he simply couldn't stop in time. At this hour, the driver has not been sighted. 36 people on board the bus at the time. They were headed to Yakima, Washington from Los Angeles. CHP is still investigating the fatal bus crash that happened in Fallbrook last month. On its way to Valley View Casino, the tour bus overturned on southbound Interstate 15. 67-year-old Tady Murguia died after being partially ejected and then trapped underneath the bus. 22 passengers were on board at the time, 6 of them with major injuries. Now investigators believe at least one misdemeanor vehicular manslaughter charge will be handed over to the DA's office for review.
Los Angeles police raided Justin Bieber's house in Calabasas today. Officers say they were looking for any evidence to link him to a recent egging incident that happened at his next-door neighbor's house. 11 patrol cars surrounded Bieber's home. Authorities were ready to execute a felony vandalism search warrant.
The felony comes from the dollar amount of the damage, and this residence sustained a great amount of damage that easily achieved the felony vandalism section.
The damage is estimated to be about $20,000. Police say Bieber was cooperative during the search. He wasn't arrested, but a person who was visiting the home at the time was arrested for unrelated narcotics charges.
Legal marijuana sales in Denver are off to a relatively problem-free start. Recreational sales started in Colorado January 1st. Since then, Denver police say they have arrested about one person per day for public pot smoking. The executive director of marijuana policy for the city says they are lucky everything in their view is going smoothly. Denver is home to a majority of the recreational marijuana stores in the state, which can sell to anyone over the age of 21.
A new study shows testing kids for drugs at school does not deter them from using marijuana or experimenting with other drugs. The Journal of Studies on Alcohol and Drugs published this study. Basically, researchers interviewed a little bit more than 350 high school students, and they asked them about their drug use and their school environment. Researchers found that drug testing did not have much of an effect on how much drugs a student used, but they say the biggest factor keeping kids drug-free was a positive school environment.
Egyptians lined up at the polls today for the first day of voting on a new constitution. With authorities keeping the campaign very one-sided, many expect the new draft to be approved with ease, and there was violence today big time. Youssef Gamal Eldin has more from Cairo.
Egyptians wrapping up the first day of a two-day referendum on a new constitution. Violence has continued throughout the day. A health ministry spokesman has told NBC News that at least 8 people have been killed and 21 injured in clashes across the country between supporters of the Muslim Brotherhood on the one hand and security forces on the other. Keep in mind that the Muslim Brotherhood has been banned as a political organization. They cannot take part in the political process, and so some of this violence has been expected.
We don't need religious parties or parties based on religious background. We need to establish a civil state.
Now, this is not just a referendum on a new constitution. There's a lot more at stake here. This will be a litmus test for the popularity of the country's military and could see a possible candidacy from the military chief himself, General Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. It's a very fluid situation. From the observation we've had throughout today is that this is a very one-sided campaign, very in favor of the Constitution. We haven't seen much campaigning against. I'm Yusuf Gamiluddin for NBC News in Cairo.
Well, a symbol associated with equality is being taken down in one Los Angeles town.
Yep, why some residents say it's a good thing and what they hope it means for the future.
And we are still not done with this red flag warning. Still much more of it to go. I'll be back in a few moments and I'll tell you when we might finally feel a little bit of relief from these Santa Ana conditions. Details are on the way.
We are following some breaking news right now in San Diego, specifically on the 52 Kearney Villa Road specifically. There is a 1-acre brush fire. Units are on the scene. They say they have it contained. Typically in a situation like this, it might not get a lot of attention, but especially considering some of the conditions that we have with the low humidity, high winds, and the like. We'll turn down the audio for the helicopter pilot. Clearly, yeah, there's a better shot of it right now, some of the flames. Fire conditions being very dangerous right now. That's why it's going to get our attention. But the good news is firefighters do say they have it contained, and we're going to check in with Dagmar also with one other forecast, what we can expect tonight.
The Temecula Valley Unified School District is facing legal action tonight after a teacher allegedly stopped a first grader from finishing a presentation about the Star of Bethlehem and what it meant to her family at Christmas time. NBC's Tony Shin has more.
The star is named the Star of Bethlehem.
Bryn Williams is showing us the minute-long Christmas presentation she tried to give during class at Helen Hunt Jackson Elementary School.
The star to find baby Jesus.
Bryn's parents say her teacher wanted students to bring something from home. That's a holiday tradition for each family. Bryn brought this Star of Bethlehem from the top of her family's Christmas tree.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be an issue of any kind.
But Shane says as soon as his daughter read this,
baby Jesus, the Savior of the world,
the teacher allegedly stopped Bryn and told her that students aren't allowed to talk about the Bible or its verses in class.
When this took place, she was hurt. She felt that she had done something wrong and was going to be punished for it.
It really is a form of bullying, telling them that they have to be censored.
Attorney Robert Tyler is representing Bryn's parents and also a West Covina student who was recently told by a teacher not to pass out candy canes to other students because there was a story about Jesus attached. In that case, the school district said the teacher was trying to maintain an appropriate degree of religious neutrality in the classroom.
John 3:16.
Temecula Valley Unified School administrators can't comment on Bryn's incident because it's under investigation, but their policy does state that students may express their beliefs about religion in their homework, artwork, and other classwork if the expression is germane to the assignment.
Students do not shed their constitutional rights by entering the schoolhouse gates. They have First Amendment liberties of speech.
In other news, anti-bullying billboards inspired by a middle school homework assignment are popping up around South Dakota. Middle school student Sophia Pavarishnik is the artist behind the Sioux Falls billboards. After a failed attempt at the anti-bullying homework assignment, she got some help from her big sister to create 2 poster designs. The top 6 posters were voted on by teachers, parents, and students, and the winners were turned into billboards. Sophia says she hopes her work inspires drivers to take action.
It's a two-way street. If you bully other people, it's just going to come back and bite you in the butt.
There you go. A school, put that on a poster. A school counselor says the program aims to spread the anti-bullying message into the community because bullying isn't limited to school kids. It can happen in the workplace as well. The billboards were funded by the parent-teacher organization.
The city of West Hollywood has removed a gay pride flag from City Hall, saying it doesn't want to marginalize its straight residents. The business owner who donated the flag sees it as a turning point for the city. NBC's Kim Baldonado explains.
In the city of West Hollywood, you can find gay pride rainbow flags flying over private businesses, painted on the crosswalks at Santa Monica and San Vicente Boulevards, and even on the sides of the sheriff's patrol cars. But you won't find them flying over City Hall.
The rainbow flag is an inclusive symbol of the fight for rights, of equal rights. And that's why it belongs on City Hall.
Resident and business owner Larry Block donated a rainbow flag to fly over City Hall in June for Gay Pride Month. The city then kept it up to celebrate the U.S. Supreme Court striking down Proposition 8. But it was taken down last week after the city council voted unanimously to only fly the city, state, and U.S. flags on a permanent basis on city facilities. Block sees that decision as a turning point for the city.
Attempt to homogenize West Hollywood as big money and new developments come in and change the nature of our entire community to shed us of a little bit of an LGBT identity.
The city is 40% LGBT. This is a cluster of the gay community here. I don't think anybody's worried about West Hollywood losing its gay identity.
Longtime city council member John Duran says it was his idea to permanently place gay pride flags on the Santa Monica Boulevard median 13 years ago. Now that 4 out of the 5 city council members are openly gay, Duran says it's crucial the city represent all the residents.
Right, with a supermajority of 4 out of 5, we could put gay pride flags all over this town, and what would we be saying to the people who aren't gay and who live here? You know, so I think part of this is the political judgment to know when to flex your political power and when not to for what's best for the entire community, gay or straight.
We are now just 23 days to the kickoff to the 2014 Olympic Winter Games. The Olympic torch is continuing its journey across Russia today, headed to Sochi. People who lived in this Russian town cheered, dressed in native costume. Oh. Look, you think we have beards going on our teams over here. Look at that. Today marks the 100th day of the torch relay. About 15 torchbearers are going to carry the flame through the city of Sochi once it gets there.
I'd love to know his story.
This guy?
Cold,
I know. So NBC 7 is your Olympic station. We're going to be following this story and all the big Olympic news leading up to the Winter Games. You can also go to NBC7.com and search Sochi. You're going to find a bunch of articles about local athletes who will be there competing. The Winter Olympics start February 6th and go through the 23rd.
We always have great fun.
I know, I love the Olympics.
Olympics are super. Miss Midcab.
Yes.
A little troubling to see that fire a short time ago.
Yeah.
Even though there's no danger of it spreading at this point.
Yeah, everybody's really obviously on very high alert for a number of reasons. The red flag warning, the high wind warning, and the fact that we are in our 3rd dry winter season now. So it's just really, the conditions are bad all around. We're still in the red flag warning. Let's take a look at that. That will expire tomorrow, Wednesday, 6 p.m. So continuing through the overnight, the majority of the day tomorrow, because we have a number of other factors contributing to that fire weather warning. And that is obviously the high temperatures, the low humidity, and the high wind warning. That expires tomorrow at 12 p.m. After that, there will be a wind advisory in effect. So the winds will slowly, just gradually begin to calm through the day tomorrow. Still pretty strong for the most part tonight, although the worst wind-wise seems to be over now. They did begin today, this morning, peak through the afternoon, evening, and then into the nighttime hours. Still pretty strong out there. Remember, these are peak wind gusts, so seeing them up to that 37-mile-per-hour mark in Julian, 48 in Campo, 29 in Escondido, continuing now. You see them jumping up at times there, heading on through 2, 3 a.m. into those 30s and 40s, still going through that early morning hour, starting to finally calm down now. So still breezy after that. We're not completely done with it yet. We'll see another little minor peak tomorrow afternoon and evening, but again, for the most part, beginning to calm down. Your temperatures tonight, not that bad. You're going to be seeing the low 50s along the coast, the mid 40s inland, 47 in Julian, about 50 in Pine Valley, 45 in Borrego Springs. So clear skies throughout the majority of the county, throughout pretty much the majority of Southern California tonight. For tomorrow, look at these temperatures. Again, low 80s for San Diego, upper 70s La Jolla, upper 60s in Oceanside, on those inland valleys in that 15 corridor, anywhere from the mid 80s through to, maybe the upper 80s, some areas, but on average 83, 84, Escondido, El Cajon, East Lake. You'll see that 62 mark in Julian, 77 in Borrego Springs, Mount Laguna,
54. So still very warm, very breezy. Low humidity, that's been a big factor in this. We've been seeing some, I checked the last 24 hours, the minimum humidity that we had easily in the single digits for the majority of San Diego County mountains and to the western edges. So very dry conditions continuing with the red flag warning tomorrow, slowly tapering and seeing some relief from this system, although we will stay sunny, we will stay dry. The unfortunate thing here is obviously no rain in sight. Checking at least 7 days out, just doesn't appear that there's any kind of hope in sight. We have been seeing ridge after ridge of high pressure building into place, keeping us sunny, dry, warm. That's why this winter is already starting off to be a very, very dry one, the third one in a row now, with some of the snowpack in the Sierra Nevadas being at an all-time low, record lows on the way. So I'll be back tonight, and we're going to take a closer look at what that means.
Okay, thanks, Dagmar.
Sports with Laz is coming up next, but first here's a look at what's coming up tonight at 11.
Here's a cherry apple crumb.
Well, you could say he's American as apple pie. Tonight, the untold story of a Medal of Honor recipient who, along with help from a local baker, continues to serve his country from the hills of Julian. We'll be right back with sports.
Probably that one.
So we're asking which camera.
Yeah.
This one. Hello. So Charger season, as all of you know, is over, but
Busy day. Officially, this isn't a Chargers Tuesday because the season's over, but they're making the big news today, so here we go. Starting with Keenan Allen, led all rookies this season with 71 catches for 1,046 yards and was named Offensive Rookie of the Year by the Football Writers of America. This is his signature play, isn't it? How good was that against the Broncos last month? Play's fun to watch. It shows his attitude, his heart, his determination. He's a third-round draft pick, broke John Jefferson's Chargers rookie receiving records, had a couple touchdown catches in Sunday's playoff loss. He needs to thank the coaches, Philip Rivers, and Antonio Gates. Here's why. Teams tried to gang up on Gates, and Allen took advantage of the openings in the coverage. Early in the season, he had some doubts as to whether or not he would belong. Check off that box. Now he's all about getting better.
Hopefully I can keep progressing, keep getting better every year, every day, every practice, and hopefully my knowledge for the game keeps getting better. Just keep working with Philip, and just hopefully I can keep getting better.
Young man is on his way. There is coaching news. John Pagano is staying put as defensive coordinator, got a new contract, good for him, congratulations. And quarterback coach Frank Reich was promoted to offensive coordinator. That should be a seamless transition. Reich taking over for Ken Whisenhunt, who was introduced today as the new head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Whisenhunt chose the Titans over the Lions, who also wanted him. The Lions today hired former Colts head coach Jim Caldwell to take over their head coaching job. So Whisenhunt worked wonders with the Chargers offense, helped Philip Rivers get back to the Pro Bowl. Now he has to deal with Jake Locker, who only played a handful of games last season because of a foot injury. But I'm sure Wiz will have them all buying in. He'll be looking for the best 53. He'll take it 1 week at a time.
The one thing I'll say is I like Jake coming out. And one of the things that I think we've done a good job of in the places I've been is putting them in positions to be successful. And that's what our goal is to be here. I think one of the things that I've learned in my time in the NFL is that chemistry is an important part of this. And when you feel like you have that chemistry and you're excited about it, that plays a big part of it.
That's how we feel on this news team. I've been saying all along that the NFL owners got off easy on the concussion settlement with retired players. Federal judge handling the case agrees. Judge Anita B. Brody asked for more financial analysis from both parties. She's concerned there won't be enough money to go around. The settlement calls for the NFL to pay $765 million. I have a solution. Give the retired players an owner's share of the TV revenue. It'll never happen. But divide the TV billions by 33 instead of 32. That would get their attention. The one good thing about the current settlement, it gets quickly money into the hands of some former players and their families who are in dire need, and there were quite a few of them, unfortunately. And did you happen to notice Sunday's Chargers game against the Broncos? 3 players left with concussions, which once again is a brain injury. The 10th ranked Aztecs are home tomorrow night against Fresno State, and yes, being ranked 10th is a big deal, and yes, it means a lot to the Aztecs. Coach Fisher did a good job of explaining what's up.
The challenge is to win the next game so we stay number 10. And I have said this to some of you individually and to a group collectively. I was pleased to see that when we beat Kansas at Kansas, they only dropped 2 spots in the poll. And part of that is the pedigree of Kansas, but part of that is people that say they lost a heck of a good team.
interesting to hear him talk about the rankings like that, because yeah, they do pay attention, just like we pay attention, and it is a big deal. Back to football. The defensive rookie of the year is Bills linebacker Kiko Alonso. I like that name, Kiko Laslovic. No. And then Packers running back Eddie Lacy was named rookie of the year. What do you think, Kiko Laslovic?
Lazalonzo.
Kiko Lazalonzo. I like it.
Sounds like a Chippendales dancer. Thanks for watching. Wheel of Fortune is coming up next.
See you at 11.